Welcome to Saints on Cinema. I am Tim Wilde, and Zach Marsh is joining us tonight. Hello, Zach.
How's it going?
Thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule, setting up your new office. Tonight's episode apparently is sponsored by what, Windex? Is that what you have behind you?
Oh yeah, I have some Windex. When
Is
you
that
move
some
into a new office, you have to do a lot of cleaning.
our blue milk for tonight's special, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Anyway, I begged Zach. I didn't beg. I kind of have to beg Zach to have time for the show in general. But I was like, Zach, we got to talk about Mandalorian. I know we didn't do an episode by episode breakdown like we did last year. Were you were in most of those, I think, last year.
Yeah, I think so.
Because I can't get Josh or Ashley to give a crap. So I'm like, you know what? We got to talk about.
Which is too bad. I actually think Josh, since he likes 80s stuff, would like The Mandalorian because it's a little reminiscent of some of like the old samurai Western movies. Yeah.
I don't think he's a Western guy. And I don't know if he's even if he's like a samurai guy. If it's not about like a boxer or
he's just very specific 80s movies. Okay.
Anyway, and whatever. I just like fantasy movies. Like it's just like he watches Star Wars just to keep up with the conversation at work. I think it's water cooler talk filler. I think that's what it is. Anyway, but whatever. I want to talk about this because this season has had some awesome stuff. And I don't have a lot of people to talk to about it other than like some friends at work, but it's like, I want to like deep dive, but we're not going to deep dive because we kind of blew a week by week window to talk about. So I just want to talk about an overall discussion just about the things that happened up to episode, what was it, 5? Is that what this one was?
We just finished episode 5. I think there'll be 8. There's going to be 8, right?
So we're past the halfway mark, but I just wanted to talk a little bit about what's kind of happened this season. And this will be complete spoilers. If you care about Mandalorian, you've already watched it. If you don't care about Mandalorian, I don't know why you're watching this. So in every case, just for spoiler etiquette, spoilers about some fun stuff that has come up in this season of Mandalorian. As you remember in the last season, and Zach and I talked a lot, especially in the last couple episodes, I enjoyed where it ended. The stuff with the darksaber, I was like not jumping out of my shoes about it. Is that a phrase? I don't know if that's a phrase I made it up. That's more like when you get scared, you're gonna jump out of your shoes, not with excitement. I didn't jump out of my seat. Maybe that's better. But cool fight scenes, some disappointing things, some like the death of IG-11, and like I just thought it was kind of cheesy. Whatever, doesn't matter. Cool stuff, and then the big reveal of the darksaber, and then everyone freaked out, and I didn't freak out because I didn't still haven't watched all the Clone Wars and the Rebels. I'm trying to fight through it. It's just it's a big appetite. You have to choke those down. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm trying.
Well, and the Clone Wars cartoon itself, I think the first episode's pretty cool, the one with Yoda, but then as you're watching it, you're just like, I don't care about these plot lines. It's just random garbage happening. It's so hard to get into. They get into a rhythm in the 3rd or 4th season and tell really good stories, and then it gets better. But it's hard to get into a show for 3 seasons of not that great.
You follow along, yeah, and follow along. Remember what's where, and I had to pull up a Googled list of like what episodes to watch for the continuity.
Oh yeah, because they do it out of order. Yeah.
So it's whatever. Anyway, I've liked it, but it's just not like I'm not like can't wait to watch the next episode. I did watch the first like season, maybe 2 seasons of Rebels. I like that. I just kind of got distracted with life. But anyway, I like the characters in Mandalorian. I love the character. Well, I don't like Kanan from Rebels. So tying some of this into some of that canon, not a huge fan. Never liked Ahsoka. Oh, killed him. Never really liked Ahsoka. That she was whiny and annoying and unnecessary to have the most important Padawan learners Padawan. It's like, this is not the story we need. We want to focus on Anakin during this, and I know it does. But I was like, I didn't really care about throwing in another learner. But as I understand, there's some amazing twists and everything leading into Ahsoka coming out. They reveal that she came out this season.
Her character arc is pretty astounding, right? Because she goes from a whiny teenage brat, kind of like Anakin. In fact, I think Obi-Wan Kenobi points that out right away. He's all like, yep, you deserve to have her as a Padawan because you're annoying too.
Yeah.
But
I mean, crap, like things like that. I'm like, come on, this is not.
But she does go from that to this from the Mandalorian. So that and there is a reason for that journey, which is really good.
Yeah.
She grows up a lot.
Yeah, and I like I was excited they were going to bring her in because I didn't think that she was going to be the annoying little teenage girl that was in the cartoon. Nor would she be, even as an adult Ahsoka, wouldn't be like cartoony. They were going to make it a little more grittier. So I really like what they've done. But let's talk about a couple of things before we get there. Now, Zach, have you watched the episodes more than once, or how thorough?
I've gone back and watched a couple things, just Easter eggs. I've only watched them fully once.
Okay, that's good. So I'm gonna let you kind of drive the dialogue, the conversation a little bit. I just want there's like kind of like one or two things from each episode. We're not gonna break down the episodes, but just what I wanted to mention and talk about. In the first episode was the crate dragon, right? That was the first one.
Yeah, that's right.
And I don't remember the names of any of them because I could never remember that. But the crate dragon one, that's where they went and they found the sand people. And they were hanging out in that podunk little town, and then that dude comes in with Boba Fett's armor. Did you like that character in general? First of all,
I actually hated that episode. That was one of the that was the first one that I was all like, "Oh my gosh, is this what we're going to be doing now?" I actually felt that way. I did think the call to Boba Fett and sort of that story was okay, and I like the little, there's a little nod that maybe Boba Fett's still in the universe at the end. I thought
the armor from somewhere, so that means there's a body somewhere. So even before the reveal at the end, there was like this intrigue, like, what?
Yeah. Which is cool, and so I like that. But that's probably all that I liked. Like, I thought the Marshall guy was iffy. I got bored. This is the first one I just got straight up bored in, when he's just running around making deals between all the groups to figure out what to do about the dragon. I'm just like, what are we doing? Like, yeah. What is happening? And then he goes and talks to the sand people again, and I'm like, okay, so I guess sand people, suddenly all of them do the sign language all the time, except for they've never done it before ever. And that's kind of nitpicky, but like, and then he talks doesn't he talk in their language? And yeah. I'm just like, what is even happening? Like, yeah. And I was really worried. I'm like, are we just going to rehash last season? Is that what they're doing? And and the boring thing is, it's personal. The boring thing is personal, and not everyone's bored, but I was bored, so you can't, it is what it is.
Well, and when we first met the character, there was a pretty good tension right there in that bar. It was like a good Western like showdown that was about to happen. I was like, that was pretty cool. And you're like, who is this guy? He has the armor. Like, what's going to happen? The guy was pretty, like, he wasn't really that intimidated by it being a Mandalorian that he was encountering. He was not afraid. And it's not like he had taken out a bounty hunter to get the armor, but we didn't know that at that point. We're like, dude, this guy's legit. So, like, his introduction I thought was pretty cool, and his talking to the bartender, calling him, what was it? He was what was his species? He called him by his species, which was kind of rude, but Weequay. Was it Weequay?
Weequay, yeah.
And I was like, oh, is that the guy from the barge? I was like, no, everyone in the barge died. So but I was like, that would have been really funny. He's all maimed and torched on one side. That would have been hilarious. But anyway, whatever. This stupid little story with the crate dragon attacking the town, I didn't like that. First of all, that's not a crate dragon. The crate,
that's like an ancient, gigantic crate dragon. I mean, it was
huge,
massive.
And if that's what a crate dragon, if that's like the big terror of the land, Jabba wouldn't be bragging about taking Luke to sacrifice them in the stupid Sarlacc pit. Like, that's a way more destructive and horrifying thing that would have a huge reputation all over Tatooine. But they're like, oh, not the pit of Carcoon. Is like,
well, I get they're just setting things up. But if you have a creature that huge going under a city and pushing dirt to the side, you just see the whole city would just sink in underneath it. There's nothing. There's like 20 feet of nothing after that. Yeah. It wouldn't shake the city. It would just all collapse. Like,
yeah, they treated it like Tremors, where they're just like watching like the wood on the side on the walkway go boom 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 boom. It's like,
then they showed it as this massive creature, which is cool. I get what they were going for. Kind of it was more fantasy themed, fighting the dragon, but at the same. The thing was, I don't know, it's just weird. Maybe I was just in a weird mood that night, but it was spitting acid, and then he just jumps down the throat, and and
but
he's
that
fine.
yeah.
I'm just like, what is happening here? What is this episode?
But the thing too is in A New Hope, when R2 and 3P are walking from the escape pod, they walk past that giant skeleton. Like, from what I understand, in current canon, not even legacy canon, that's a crate dragon. Well, if that's this crate dragon, what is this giant thing that looks like the slug in Empire Strikes Back that tried to eat the Falcon?
Who knows?
Yeah. Anyway, all that stuff, I didn't really buy it, and whatever. It was fine. I don't like. The more they show Tusken Raiders, especially like nice Tusken Raiders, the more it's sucking out the mystery and the intrigue and the fear. I think
Absolutely.
And it's fine. It's fine that you can kind of humanize them a little bit because they are just kind of freaky people. They're humans. From what I understand, they're humans from old canon, old role playing books and stuff. But the more they're showing that and domesticating them and interacting with them with regular people on Tatooine, I don't like that. It's gonna.
Well, they might be trying to humanize him to make Anakin's turn against them even worse, I guess. But I just think I don't know. They've undermined everything they've done before.
Human. It's like when he calls them animals, like that's horrible enough. Like that rant in episode 2.
Oh yeah.
It's strong enough. Just because they didn't show it. I don't need them to humanize them. I'm like, I like watching that as an audience member. I was like, oh yeah, they're just Tusken Raiders. Yeah, kill them. I never felt that way. But they're like, oh, we got to really make it meaningful. Whatever. Whatever. We don't need to keep talking about it. I
murdered all these people. It's meaningful. And then she's like, it's fine. You were just mad. It's okay to murder all sorts of people when you're mad. And I'm sitting here like, well, if she doesn't care, I don't care either. They're freaking sand people. But you know.
Yeah, whatever. I thought the Wicked Act was good enough in the movie. This isn't accomplishing anything other than overexposure of a very intriguing and mysterious culture. And
I think that's right.
Yeah. Anyway, because they were kind of whatever. I don't want to talk about more. We start talking about comparisons with Native American Indians and old lore with them and like how they are in pop culture and things like that, which is not accurate or flattering. And so.
Right.
Taking some of those aspects, whatever. It's a little out of taste, and I just didn't like seeing it. It's not, and I wasn't offended by it, but I was more bored.
No, I'm just kind of, well, yeah, I was bored. I was like, why are we seeing this? What's going on? And what does this accomplish other than, demystifying them? Like, why? And yeah, it was like a giant retcon. I don't know, but whatever.
Well, big reveal at the end of the episode was Boba Fett was there. Now, when I watched it, I was like, oh, who's that guy? I didn't recognize him.
I didn't either.
I was like, who's that? And I was like, because everyone was saying, I kept seeing headlines because I hadn't watched it for like 2 days. Headlines saying, Boba Fett's back. What does it mean? I was like, oh, the armor. They're talking about the armor, blah, blah, blah. I was like, oh, who's that guy? And I found that was Boba Fett. I'm like, what? So then I got excited. So what do you think about that? And how he has all this Tusken Raider crap? Like he's been out hunting these people.
Yeah, he's surviving on the desert. No, I was hoping they were setting that up to be more meaningful this season, and it seems like maybe that's not the case, but I actually thought that that's what they were setting up. And so I kind of was annoyed after the second episode. I'm like, I have no idea where we're going with this. The first one, I felt like there's a direction. I could see they were setting things up that were meaningful, even though other people are all like, no, there's no setup. This is just stupid random crap. I was like, no, I see it going somewhere, and it did, and it paid off with the characters coming together and bringing them all to some conclusion.
There was a full circle in season 1.
Even if you didn't agree that it was a great story, right? At least there was some setup, and that's okay. But this one, after the end of the second episode, I'm like, I enjoyed the second episode standalone, but just for a season, I was like, what are we doing? What is the story here? What's happening?
So this season, what happened next? The next part was when he was at the ice. No, he goes back to. He's on Tatooine. Oh, the baby.
Taking the eggs. He's taking the lady with the eggs to her husband, and they promised that
unfertilized eggs. Gotta be very specific.
Yes, unfertilized eggs because they needed to keep their species alive. Well, and
about Baby Yoda eating the
eggs. I guess people were offended by that.
Watching eat lizards and frogs the whole time, and this is like a frog humanoid person. I was like, and they're unfertilized, like, flat out, it's like winking to the camera. Unfertilized eggs. Calm down, everybody. But that whole story, I didn't like the spider thing. It was just, I mean, the aliens, them coming out of their pods and stuff. It was like kind of cool. But I was like, what is she? She found a geyser on this ice rock, and she's like sitting there, like, was she like doing like a water birth kind of a thing, getting more eggs? I was like, what is happening? And then all of a sudden they come out, I was like, and it didn't matter anymore. And I was like, well, I'm glad, because that was a little awkward anyway. That he comes upon her doing.
I did like that it was just like you were expecting her to betray him or try and do something. Like there were a few scenes where you're like wondering,
she was going to get killed, and I was going to
or she was going to die.
Where he failed.
And it was actually kind of refreshing for them just to actually get there.
Yeah. It was cute when she found her husband at the beginning of the next episode. I thought that was really sweet.
It was. And so, and I don't mind the ship getting destroyed. I think it's kind of fun that the ship had its own character for a couple episodes. And
until the next episode. We'll talk about that in a second. But
I have a rant about that. Yeah.
It's probably the same rant. The spiders thing, then chase, and it seemed like the numbers like kind of were like a lot in one camera angle, then they disappeared, then there'd be like a bunch of right on him, and then he'd shoot one or two, and then they were like clear running for a little while. Just inconsistency, and then the troopers coming up. I did like that when the rebel fighters came in, like they were freaking like some redneck cops coming up, and they shot him out. I love seeing pilots who's doing stuff besides shooting, and I love that about Poe in episode 7. Same concept. I love him getting out a gun and doing stuff. I think it's awesome. They're not just pilots; they're soldiers.
Right.
But I liked when they were doing that, but he was there like, "You under arrest?" Like, well, you should be, but whatever. But then they didn't help him.
They just leave. They're all like, "Yeah, right. No, it's nice enough that we're not arresting you right now. See you, sucker."
Yeah,
I like that.
And it's more of the whole thing, like we've talked about in the last season, how there's this span, or this I don't know how to say it, this outer reach of the rebellion that they've now extended, that they're patrolling the outer rim, even Tatooine. And we can see Tatooine, we know it's a rundown place. It's not even as busy as it was, 4 years ago.
Right.
But here's a couple of X-Wing fighters patrolling the outer rim. I was like, that's kind of cool. And they're also the kind of the redneck, kind of hillbilly, like kind of douchey pilots. They're like, hey, we got these two guys. Let's send them out to Tatooine. You know what I mean?
No, well, that's what I say. I actually liked it. And generally, as an episode, I was like, okay, this is fun at least. But then
fine.
In the greater picture, I'm like, it feels like this is just killing time. Like he did get a clue though that sent him off somewhere.
I did like the space where the X-Wings were chasing him in the first part of that. It felt like that episode of Firefly, very similar to that episode of Firefly on the ice planet towards the end of the show. But I enjoyed it. It was fun. Spider thing was fine. It was just kind of overdone. And then when they revealed the big spider, I was like, all right, whatever. Anyway, it was fun. Then he gets to his planet. I liked right before the credits of that one, though, when it shows the ship like taking off, usually it has this like riding off into the sunset kind of thing.
Right, and like a part of it.
That's cute. Anyway, so you're seeing him hammered. He's just so frustrated about this ship, and that's like his ship is like his armor from the first season. His armor was a character in the first season. He was having to fix it, and it kept getting damaged, and it kept getting better. Same thing's going on with the ship now, and I like that. Real quick, we missed a part that's kind of important. I hated the beginning of the second episode when those guys tried to set up that trap to capture him with the rope, because he's flying through on a speeder bike going freaking whatever they're 100 miles or 200 miles or whatever they are. I have the stat somewhere. And they put out this rope on the ground, and he's going that fast, but they still feel the need to throw sand to hide the rope.
Like he's gonna see it.
See it, and they pull it up, and I'm like, okay, hang on. They don't have a ship. They don't have jetpacks. They don't have anything. Did they walk out here to ambush? They didn't even know who he was or what he had. Like, they were just, is this what they do? They come out here and they spend a whole day out there hoping someone's going to cruise by.
Hoping someone will show up.
Yeah, I was like, what are these guys doing? It was such a forced encounter. I liked his fighting the guys. I liked the guy that grabbed Yoda as a hostage.
Right.
But again, he didn't know what he had. They weren't there for him.
What were they even doing?
Scavengers. But then it turned into, this is what I hated about it. The stupid jetpack was like a drone. I don't like that. The jetpacks and even Boba Fett's.
Well, he does press the button to activate his jetpack. I think that's all that he was doing. The perfect landing, though, was a little.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, the takeoff I liked, and then the guy falls. I was like, that's pretty funny.
That was funny, but because he didn't like, yeah. But like how it came down and hovered, and like they've used it that way a little bit, where it's like a drone. I'm like, that's not how they are. They're not that. They just they shoot you up and kind of help you land, like Boba Fett.
I don't even know how they would do that either. I don't understand the technology, but I don't understand how they would be able to do that. Stay stable like that with.
Yeah, we saw Rocketeer. We know how crazy it is if you don't have a helmet with a wing and someone controlling it.
Right, it's just gonna fly off into nowhere.
But what bothers me about it is Boba Fett was like the richest bounty hunter in the galaxy, the best bounty hunter in the galaxy. To tell me that like he had some rickety, and I don't mind the hair trigger on the boost. I thought that was funny, in the first episode when they showed that. That's fine. But like in this one, showing how super advanced this new rocket pack is compared to like what Boba Fett had just 4 years before. I'm like, Boba Fett has the best gear ever. He always did. And I'm not going to go into role-playing stats about it, but that's the only thing I didn't like is how superior and kind of overpowered this jetpack is, but whatever. I don't like the jetpacks in any of these shows or this Mandalorian series. I just don't like how they're.
I am going to complain about the jetpack in the 4th episode, but not because of the jetpack, mostly because it contributes to a greater complaint I have. But
all right, so let's move to the 3rd episode. So what happens? He lands in that pirate planet with the J Crew.
This I actually liked a lot because he's like an orthodox Mandalorian, and he meets these new Mandalorians, and they take off their helmet, and he's all like, screw you guys.
About that, because you remember as we talked in the first season, I didn't like these aspects of these Mandalorians. They didn't feel like old DC or Dark Horse comic Mandalorians that I really liked. How they were like swordsmiths and stuff like that. They had the armory stuff going on, but all they do is shoot guns, and they had their weird stuff about the mask. I'm like, well, that's fine. But even old books about Boba Fett, and he's not a Mandalorian, but in the old book canon he had different things with him with and without his helmet and different honor codes and stuff that I found really intriguing. But I didn't like what they were doing. So when they threw these characters in that they were like a different offshoot of the Mandalorians, I was like, well, that's ingenious. And I was like more intrigued with these guys versus the other ones.
They're in Rebels. And the main girl with the red hair, Bo-Katan, she's a big part of the Rebels storyline and what's going on in there. And
I never knew about her.
Or is it Clone Wars? Now it's all merging in my head. If it's Clone Wars, it's the later seasons of the Clone Wars. But I'm pretty sure it's in she appears in Rebels too.
Well, the dark saber stuff was Rebels, right? Wasn't she looking for the dark saber?
And she gets the dark saber in the cartoon, and she's which makes her the de facto leader of the Mandalorians.
Yeah.
So that's a character from the cartoon that they also brought to life. Is that girl, which is really.
Everyone liked it, and I thought I liked it. I loved this. Was my favorite part. Sorry, I think I cut you off in the middle of a thought there.
No, that's fine.
When she said, "This is the way," she said it almost sarcastically because she knows about their traditions. And what that reminded me of, it made me think like maybe this was like some ancient like a scripture, like some verse of their Old Testament back in the old Mandalorians or something, that this is the way was an important thing. But these guys were like Pharisees. They're little overly what's the word? Conservative,
right.
All their little rules and stuff that they're like, this is the way, this is the way, this is the way. Like they took some parts of like the gospel from the Mandalorians and like obsessed over certain aspects of it. But she's sitting there like, it's not all this stuff, all these rules and stuff. That's not the real part.
Right.
And I'm going to quote a scripture. You understand you understand the connection?
Yes, I see what you're saying.
Where she's sharing something that was an old, important concept for the Mandalorians. Maybe some famous leader said it at a critical battle or something. I don't know. and then they just obsess over like different churches or different cults or something, obsess over certain doctrines and principles that they love. They thrive on that, but they kind of ignore other stuff. She's like old school. She's like, there's like Jesus coming out. She's like, no, all your tradition stuff don't matter. This is what matters. You know
Well,
what I mean?
there's kind of, I mean, their planet was destroyed, their people enslaved. Like, I mean, the Empire took over, so I can see both.
Babylon took over Jerusalem, yeah.
I can see both ways of going it. You either dive deeper into what you were doing just to maintain the culture and because you're clinging to it, or you're all like, well, obviously what we were doing before wasn't working. So, which is very
like
similar. Yes, just like the Jedi. Yeah. So
I liked it. I thought it was really fun. I liked the sequence on the ship. I thought just when they first zoom in, when he's out there, he's just sitting on the side of the boat. I was like, this is very like steampunk kind of old, like Final Fantasy kind of a thing or something, like where they have just a barge and he's just out there and he was going to talk to the captain and something, and like the cabin boy come up and say something funny, but turned into a cool sequence very quickly.
I also like he used his armor tactically in that moment, and it also shows that his armor is not completely invulnerable. If you get shot with heavy blasts over and over, that'll hurt, and it'll hurt a lot. And so even if it doesn't, cut through you, it can still be painful. And so, you get shot down in the hallway, and he's not dead, but it just shows he can't just do anything. He can do a lot. He can do a lot of things, but not anything.
He's not Darth Vader walking down to a bunch of rebel troops shooting at him. He's just like, whatever. So he goes back, and then this isn't the one with what happens here? He goes on a mission with her to take out the Imperial ship. Right.
They ask for his help, and she says she'll point him to a Jedi if so. So
he helps them. Did you like all that? Did you have any problems with any of it?
I don't remember having any problems with the episode, and I was super excited when she said Ahsoka Tano at the end. Like, I was like, awesome.
Even though everyone knew it was coming. Yeah, I like that episode a lot. I thought it was really fun, really good, cool action. I don't know if I like stormtroopers sitting on the outside of the hull of the ship while it was like in flight. That didn't really sound practical, but whatever. And I like the guy doing the suicide when he killed the two navigators. The two navigators like, what?
And then he starts crashing the ship.
That was kind of cool. I like that kind of stuff, and like seeing the armor and their tactics, like you said, was really fun. And then watching the zero-G kind of change as they were like going up and down and all that stuff. That was really neat. Then what happened? He takes off, and then the walker pulling the ship out of the water. That was pretty cool too. I like those.
Well, that's right. Because his ship is trashed.
Into the thing, and but within like what was that? Probably like 10 hours or something. It was like that same day they already have his ship all fixed. I'm like, what? Wait a minute.
It's functional at this point. It's not all fixed.
Oh, right. That's the next episode.
We'll talk about the next episode with that.
That's right. He is still kind of like barely.
It's barely chugging along. They're like, "This is all you were able to do," and the guy's like, "What do you want? It was freaking garbage when you came in here."
Yeah, it reminded me of Jack Sparrow in the opening of the first movie when he rides into the ship, like completely.
As it comes to the port, whoever thought of that shot was a genius. That is amazing. Him riding,
because he's all like,
heroically coming in.
Yeah. All right. The next episode, he takes off. He goes where? He goes back to his planet, right? The one at where Creed is.
Orvis.
And then so he goes back there, and that's when they're fixing his ship more. And then he goes on the job.
This is what I'll talk about. So first of all, I enjoyed that episode for the most part. I think it's 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I think it was interesting the information that was revealed. Which is they're trying to use Baby Yoda's, can I say his name? Or Grogu. They're trying to use his blood to probably give the Force to people or something like that.
And they were ballsy enough to bring up midichlorians without calling them midichlorians because they were just like, let's not trigger everyone. That's a trigger word. It's a legitimate concept. I thought that was really cool.
Yes, and assuming it is, that makes sense as some. If you can transfer it over and imbue someone with the Force. I actually prefer that concept in the Star Wars universe over like What was that game series? The Jedi who gets kicked out of the Jedi Order and takes his force powers away.
Kyle Katarn and all those, the Dark
Yeah,
Forces.
but like there's like a beam, a laser in a pyramid temple that zaps you and you lose your force power, and then you step in the beam and it zaps you and you gain your force powers back. And it was just like, it was a little weird. this fits better in a sci-fi fantasy universe. At least what they're trying. I'm sure they'll accomplish. They'll have some success at some point, right? They're probably setting up a future villain.
Right.
So that's all cool.
It brought back that cloning guy from the first couple episodes of season 1.
That's
I liked all that stuff. I loved all of it.
It's a good callback. Yeah, this is where I finally felt like, okay, we're starting to tie things together now. Thank you. 4 episodes in, I feel like we're going somewhere. But from the time he lands his piece of crap ship and goes and gets the quest and leaves, Baby Yoda is holding this same little package. Mandalorian rockets back to the town, suggesting that this military base is like 4 minutes away.
Yeah, they didn't seem to go far.
Which is what? So that little drive that they take out to this, why did you put it next to the Imperial base? They go on this little drive in the truck to the base. The people drive back. In real time, we see them fleeing out of the thing. So they're like 4 minutes away. So maybe
on top of a volcano, like right there.
Right. And then his ship is magically, completely, 100% fixed in...
And upgraded.
And upgraded in
so much better.
40 minutes? Like, there's... And I've thought... And I think Rhett watched it again to try and contradict me. And he's like, I found a passage of time that you can see. And I'm like, okay, no, there's no passage of time. He's like, no. When the Mandalorian walks into the city, he doesn't have the rocket on his back. So before they went on their mission, he must have gone back to his ship and grabbed the rocket. So there could have been some time there. And I'm like, okay,
that town is not that big.
Let's add 3 more minutes. So in 43 minutes,
give them an hour, Zach.
48. Give them in an hour. They managed to blow up this base, find out its secrets, fix his ship, and have a heroic ending. And I'm just like, oh my gosh!
As soon as he showed up in the ship, I was like, okay, that was. I mean, him coming back on a speeder bike or using his jetpack, that even though I don't like how they do him, like all that stuff would have been awesome. That moment was really cool for his return. But him coming back with his ship, I was like, what?
That's literally. I was like, I thought this thing was trash. How much time has passed? What is going on?
I did like how as they went into the base, they passed like the little hangar with the speeder bikes, and like it went into the different rooms, and you could see where when they were escaping, everything was like back to life, and the troopers were now arming stations and manning machines and stuff, and getting the turrets ready. Security was on. Speeder bikes were ready to go. Like you forgot about them by the time they were like out down the cliff, and all of a sudden you're like, oh yes. And I love how they duplicated some of the shots from Jedi. And it was all updated and everything. And remember, I love the speeder bike in the first season, just how tangible it felt, how real it felt. This felt a little more cartoony, but that's okay. It was a lot more action and combat.
It was a bit more action, and I'm okay with some of the action. Like there was some fun stuff that happened.
Yeah, even stuff where they pull up on the side and trying to shoot sideways. A couple of the maneuvers, like going back.
I was really confused at first. I couldn't tell. I think I was sitting there like, why is their hair moving inside of the ship? Like their hair's like fluttering. And then the guy shoots in and I'm like, oh, this doesn't have windows.
Yeah.
It's just open air. Okay, well that's scary.
The turret and on the little tank they're driving off on, except for when she was like, oh, this is, and when it was underneath the tarp, when she was like, oh, this is a blah, 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 whatever. And I was like, well, that could have been something recognizable. Like maybe something. And maybe it was, but I have no idea what it was. But it was like, she's like, oh, this is a brand new whatever. I was like, okay. And then they trash it on the way out. I'm like, well, that's gonna happen. I don't know. I liked it. I liked infiltrating a rebel base. Or an Imperial base. That felt like a little role-playing campaign. It was really cool. I enjoyed all of that.
Yes, I actually liked it overall, except for that one glaring error. Just like, What in the world?
Yeah. Seems like everything they do that's big, the big dragon, the big spider, and then the big ship coming back, that's just where they lose me.
Yeah.
Keep things subtle. All right. So what happened at the end of that? He just takes off. Oh, he goes to the planet. He goes back. Baby Yoda's still eating a frog or something. They have a little tadpoles are now growing. So you get to see that, look, the Baby Yoda didn't just destroy the species. Then he takes off for the planet. Cut to Ahsoka. This character the lady with the spear, was she anyone from the cartoons that you know before?
I don't remember her from the cartoons. However, she is Filipino. Her dad is an Eskrima Filipino martial arts master. And so that was really cool to see her in the film, fighting with a spear. She's a martial artist too. So,
yeah, so remember that. She offers the spear to the Mandalorian, but that was like her primary weapon. I'm like, what? Why? I didn't get that.
That's how important it was to protect the information from Ahsoka, I guess, or I don't know. But I do think, I actually think that was really cool because, not that, but I think the spear is really cool because you're thinking the Mandalorian's not going to wield a lightsaber against the Darksaber, is he? That would be kind of lame. You want him to be a Mandalorian, not to be a Jedi.
Right. Remember, that's what we complained about the first season. They just run around blasters. That's not Mandalorian.
So if he has a Beskar spear against the Darksaber, I'm down with that. And I think that's what they're setting up, is for him to fight what's his name?
Gabriel. Is it Gabriel?
Gabriel? Is that the guy's the Moff?
The black Moff guy?
Yeah.
That was Gabriel.
So I'm pretty sure they're setting up a spear fight, the spear versus the Darksaber. That would be
cool. That makes sense too. I liked all that. I don't like that it was just such a simple looking weapon. But you would think a fighter like her, she would have had some kind of a signature weapon that she wouldn't be like, here's your bounty. Here's
True.
Your
she also fought with it in a really dumb way in reality. If you're fighting someone with double swords, you don't want to hold the spear with two hands like this and get rid of your distance leverage. She should have been fighting with it like a spear to keep her at a distance, but that's fine. They do that in like every action movie ever. They always make mistakes like that.
Come on, Jack. This is an audience that's watched Michael Bay with Donatello fighting Leonardo. They're not used to someone at a distance, realistically.
I know. I'm just throwing that out there for the people watching this show.
For practicality, I get it.
I can let it go because I love action movies, even though they do it. So
I understand what you're saying. I liked the stuff with her, and then so let's talk about Ahsoka real quick. Other than freaking amazing performance, and I can't describe how blown away I was, and I didn't even know who that was. Was it Rashadia? What's her name?
Rosario Dawson.
Rosario. She from Rent and Clerks 2 and stuff. I always loved her. But I realized that was her. I didn't know who it was. But I thought it was like all CGI, exaggerated lips, and how they did her eyes and stuff.
Yeah,
I was that's kind of cute. And then I found out who it was her. It was her. I'm like, oh, she has those lips.
Yes, she does.
But my favorite thing about her, other than them like throwing her right into some awesome combat right up front, they didn't like just bury the lead for later. They had her doing some really cool stuff. But when she goes up to the wall and has her little conversation with the girl. It's not like she can just jump, that she's like, oh, well, then that's it. She's gonna jump in and just like kill everyone like she would have if she was like Clone Wars Ahsoka. And I'm not talking about just the character being younger. I'm talking about the rules of the Force powers in the Clone Wars and cartoons and even the prequel movies.
Right, they're so overpowered that.
Yeah, they're superheroes. So they made her a little more grounded, literally, because she's on the ground. Made her more grounded where she's like, I have to figure out how I'm going to do this, but I'm going to take care of business. Like, this is a legitimate threat, but I'll be back. You have till morning because I got to think about this.
I got it,
When Luke goes into Jabba's palace, he says, you can profit by this or be destroyed. There's a very similar contrast. These are gray Jedi. These are not traditional Jedi temple Jedi. These are like, we just do what we need to do. We have the powers to do it. We got to figure it out and work through it. The sail barge attack did not go the way Luke and I know, I want to have a discussion another time about trying to figure out what the plan actually was.
What was the original plan versus what happened there?
But when he goes in and makes the threats, he has to fight his way to work out making the ends meet. Same thing here. And when she makes the threat, she just goes back and she's chilling out, meditating in the forest. That's all she's doing when Mandalorian finds her. But when she goes, and I love their quick little encounter. I liked it. It was fine. I think it could have gone a little bit longer. It would have been fun. But like when he met, what's her name, the girl I didn't like in the first season, when they fought from the bar.
Yeah.
And Baby Yoda's in there, was watching.
The rebel, the jump soldier,
whatever her name was. I didn't like her. We've talked about that. But when she comes in, he's like, we need to talk about something or whatever. She goes, I hope it's about him. And she's just walks right past him. She doesn't have her guard up. She's like, whoa.
Well, and can you imagine too, she knows Yoda. She was trained by Yoda. And I think she continued to interact with Yoda
while he was on Dagobah?
Yeah, well, I don't know if it was while he's on Dagobah, but for a while.
After Order 66, or you're talking about before?
I think so. But this is where, too, the Clone Wars jumps all over the place, so it's really hard to know what happened. And Rebels has a little bit of stuff, too. I can't remember all of it. But anyways, regardless, if I was seeing a Baby Yoda, I'd be all like, what is happening?
And not because she's she knows it's some rare species. Just to her, I've never seen one.
Yeah.
And people have thrown out there that Yaddle in episode 1 was one, but Yaddle was killed before she came into the scene.
Yeah, she wouldn't have known Yaddle. Yeah, that's right.
So it was just more her curiosity, like what's going on, like you're saying. I liked how cool she was about it, but she walked right up to it, walked right past Mandalorian without the guard down, and she was so intrigued. Then it cuts to a beautiful scene where she's just sitting there over the lamp, just sitting there across from.
They're just mind reading each other basically.
Just connecting or whatever, and she's so expressive. Where you can, and I was like following the conversation where she like looks over at him, like Yoda's telling. I'm gonna call it Yoda because I can't remember the Yaddle.
Grogu. Groger, yeah. Grogu.
So when Master Yogurt is like, when Yogurt's like talking about what's happened, and she kind of looks over, like, this is just how she's processing what's being communicated. It was so beautiful. It's not just well acted; it was beautiful to watch this connection.
Yeah.
And then and it was all through expression. And then she walks over, and then they have the conversation, and then it cuts to the test the next morning. And during the testing, when she tries to pass the rock, he won't do it and stuff. And then her tone, like, she's so good. It's just so like I'm talking a little bit, directly with a little bit of authority, I'm telling you to do this, but I'm also being soft and careful about it. I'm being nice and like so perfect. Yeah. And then when Mandalorian tries it, she's in the bag, and it's so tasteful. She's leaning on the rock, out of focus. And when he pulls out the thing from the controller on the thing, she looks over at him. It's so cool. She's watching Mandalorian do his attempt, and then she looks at him like, how's he responding to this? And she doesn't even know what it is. But when she looking back and forth in the background, casually out of focus, I was like, that's brilliant. It
tells her so much, though, which is what, she verbalizes it after, but she's all like, oh, it's something that he wants. That's why he's willing to use his powers for it. He's not willing to, which gives him an emotional tie, and it shows his relationship with the Mandalorian and still passion, which is why she says, I can't teach this kid.
Even to the point where she's also watching that the Mandalorian even thought of that. She's like, hey, he's paying attention.
And by the way, I think she has a better reason to say no than Yoda did to Luke Skywalker. Because she had to fight Darth Vader herself and, watch him fall to the dark side, the guy she was trained by. She actually fights him and gets killed by him. Yeah. Sorry, spoiler to anyone.
I did see that fight. It was really awesome. All that stuff was awesome in Rebels.
But yeah, she does die. Like, she actually dies. And then she's like, yeah, I'm not gonna mess with this, sorry. So I actually really like that.
It was really traumatic for her. That was like her best friend and her mentor, who she watched the entire event. She watched him in his highest moments in glory, because when she says, even the best of us, it took, and then watched him fall to the level that she had seen in Rebels. It's you could see that trauma, that almost PTSD, but not PTSD, but more like she's like, I've been through this. It took a long time to get through it, and even if I'm not over it yet, there's still scars emotionally and otherwise. I'm not even gonna touch. It's like someone who's overcome like alcoholism or something like that. It's not like it's her weakness, but you know what I'm saying?
Right,
like, I
right.
can't even touch it. I can't touch it. It's triggering. I really well done.
And in addition to that, and I think this is a good combination of Rosario Dawson and Dave Filoni. He's the one who directed this episode, and he's been a big force behind Rebels. The Clone Wars cartoons.
He's like, I want to do the reveal.
I mean, just even listening to Rosario Dawson, she sounded like an older version of Ahsoka Tano. Like that was, and it was so bizarre. Like I looked this up, and I found out other of my friends looked up to see if the voice actress did the voiceover for Ahsoka, because it sounded so much like her, but just older. And we can't find a credit for it, which means Rosario Dawson changed her voice just to try and sound like an older version of Ahsoka. Enough that we were like, that is weird if she did that. Like, not in a bad way, but like, wow, that's impressive.
I remember her voice from the Clone Wars cartoon, her first appearance when she was really whiny. I didn't see her enough in Rebels to see if there was much change.
Yeah.
So I'd be kind of oblivious to any kind of a comparison, other than she did not sound like a whiny character in the beginning.
That's right. So, as a character, she sounds like a much older, wiser person, just in general.
I loved it, and we kind of talked about this off air, but I loved the way they did the Force powers, the way they did the action sequences, the way they shot it. She was like, she didn't just walk in and just like kill them all. In a cartoon or in it shows, even in Mandalorian, certain sequences, you just walk through and just wipe them all out one by one. When she was stalking them in the burnt forest, but where she's like taking them out one by one, carefully igniting and retracting her lightsabers, like within strikes and everything, so cool. And all that stuff was really neat watching her stalk. But what I liked about it is, and the biggest point of this is when she jumped up onto the wall in the second assault. They show her jump, and this wasn't just a cheap thing. They've done a lot of special effects in this show, like Mandalorian flying and catching onto the side of a TIE fighter in flight and fight. Like, it's not they were being cheap. They show her jump off the ground, cut to her barely making the landing before she takes out a couple of guys. That, to me, is a universe where 4 years ago, Luke Skywalker was barely using his enhanced abilities to jump from a skiff to another skiff.
Right.
They're not jumping like Rey across the ocean to get to the Death Star. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't feel, and it's the Clone Wars sequel stuff and Clone War or sequel stuff. All of it that doesn't feel like the same universe as Luke in the.
Well, I think that's why I love this universe so much. You don't feel like a Jedi is necessarily the most powerful being in the universe. You feel like they could have an advantage if they cultivated their power long enough, and it takes a long time.
Yeah. I was saying, if you're in front of them, like if you're one-on-one with a Jedi with a lightsaber ready, he's probably going to win. But if you have like an army attacking a Jedi, it's a good chance you can take him down.
Well, but what I feel like, though, is like the Mandalorian had a decent chance against her. He blocked her lightsaber blast. He tied her up. They were kind of in a stalemate, but he didn't want to fight her.
Yeah.
I like that universe better. And I still think Jedi are awesome, but why can't a Mandalorian be awesome as well?
Right.
But if that Mandalorian went up against Mace Windu, he would just like and just.
That's it. And it's boring. and I'm sorry, Rey fight that. All that is boring. Like all that stuff, all that overpower stuff. And this isn't a Mary Sue conversation. This is just the way they showed their way exaggerated superhero powers in the prequels and the sequels.
Yeah.
It's grounded. This is a universe where I feel like Yoda teaching Luke to barely lift a rock is the same universe where she could kind of just jump up and enhance and make the landing and then have to fight her way from there, not wave her hand and throw everyone a mile away.
Right.
It's really cool, really grounded. It's a lot of texture and grit and reality that you're like, okay, they have to carefully take out these soldiers. It's not just an automatic win for the Jedi.
Just walking. Did you ever see the Clone Wars cartoon, the shorter one? It was like an hour long. They had where Mace Windu literally runs around and punches the giant droid things and just blows them up. I laughed the whole time watching that, just like, okay, I guess this is what they do now. Like,
and that was that Cartoon Network, the ones that were like 3-minute episodes or whatever. And
which had some cool stuff, by the way. Like General Grievous. General Grievous in that was scary. Oh yeah. Like when I saw him in the actual movie, I was like, who is this? What is this?
Guy's weak.
Yeah, what in the world? The one in the cartoon was legit like the Jedi were running scared from him.
Yes.
Not knowing what to do.
When he had his one claw on the ground holding 3 lightsabers, his leg and one in each hand. He didn't even have the 4 hands at that point.
Right.
They saved that for the movie. Watching that guy horrifically wipe out, including Kiadu Mundi and Shak Tiwa, they're all there. They barely got out alive. And then in the movie, Obi-Wan jumps down and says, hello there.
Hello, I don't care. I'm not even scared of you. Let's do this. I'm going to murder everyone here. Okay, Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
This Jedi of all time. Sneaks in order to announce his presence. Okay.
Yeah. Yes. Anyway, but yes, that series was awesome. And that was fun for the way they way overpowered the Jedi for those. But that was for that cartoon. That was fun. And I'd be fine with the Clone Wars doing that stuff. That's also fun because it's an animation. You want to exaggerate and have fun with it. Video games, that's fine, but you can't put
don't do it in the live action
in this universe. It does not work. You can't have Starkiller in the same universe as Luke Skywalker, where they're like, he's our only hope. Like, screw him. Look at this guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, you can have some bad guys be overpowered because then it's a challenge for the protagonist, right?
But not like that.
No, not like that. I would agree. Shooting lightning up into the sky and taking out an entire fleet of ships because if you why do you need a Death Star if you can do that? Why not just lightning a whole planet?
Just give him a little escape pod, like a Count Dooku's little ship. Just let him sail around.
His solar sailor, and just go around and zap planets.
Exactly.
So I had a buddy after The Last Jedi even who said to me, so what do they do with the Force in this movie? Because he didn't see it. He didn't see it right as soon as I got to see it. And I said, basically, you can do anything with the Force now. Like that's what I've learned from The Last Jedi. Whatever they want to do.
You can teleport, you can crash ships, you can force lightning with no training, like just anything.
You can just do whatever you want now. Whatever. It doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah. And people had problems with like the healing part, but I was like, that's an old level 1 spell for any.
Right.
I'm fine with
like
that.
the thing I'm least concerned about. Like.
Right. Yeah. Anyway, so all this Ahsoka, it was very modest and tasteful how they did her abilities, and she felt like a fighter who was trained in the days of the Jedi Temple, that she had specific skill that she had her own unique flair with, and but it was not like just. It wasn't the Obi-Wan Anakin. It wasn't like that.
We're just gonna walk in and do crazy stuff. Yes, she was stealthy about it, quick about it, just taking people out and moving on. Yeah,
right.
I
liked it a lot. So they talked about Tarkin, or not Tarkin. That'd be awesome, but no, can't do. Let's not touch Tarkin yet. That's too controversial.
So you haven't finished Rebels, but you're talking about what's his name now? Thrawn.
So that's the reveal. Grand Admiral Thrawn. I listened to Kevin Smith, Fat Man on Batman. Fat Man Beyond tonight, and they talked about their dream casting, who they thought would do it. But is there anyone that you think would be awesome for Thrawn?
Gosh, I haven't even thought about that.
I can't remember some. There's the main one was what's his name? Who was the Alfred from Justice League? The guy from
Jeremy Irons.
That was my favorite pick from their conversation.
Yeah, but his voice isn't Right. Jeremy Irons has an evil person voice. Thrawn is more. I mean, he's evil in a sense, but he's very intelligent. But he could. I bet he could do it. Maybe they could pull
Yeah.
it back. I actually think. Have you seen The Boys at all?
Yeah, the first season. The main guy.
Homelander. I think.
Homelander. Yeah.
Because he has kind of a unique look on his face. I actually think
Yeah.
he could probably do
He is
Thrawn.
so good in that. I haven't watched the second season yet, but oh my gosh, I was blown away by how good. And he's like a very righteous and horribly wicked person. He's a very good villain in that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think he could do Thrawn, and I could see the makeup on him looking pretty decent too.
good crew cut too. I was in a panel at Comic-Con, not Comic-Con, Salt Lake, the FanX, and Timothy Zahn was there, who created the character, and that was one of the questions asked in the panel: who would he dream of casting? I mean, he says he thought about it just for a second. He was like, the only person I can think of who I think could really pull it off would be, what's his name? The guy that plays not Mysterio. What's his name? It's Doctor Strange, Sherlock. That guy.
Oh,
Cumberbatch,
wow.
his name is.
Yeah, Benedict Cumberbatch.
That he thinks could do it. I'm like, that would be pretty cool. I could see that.
He doesn't really have the face that I would imagine for Thrawn, but I don't think that matters. But
in today's world,
he does have the voice and the acting
intensity.
chops. Yeah, the intensity. He could absolutely do that. He might not look perfect, but then again, that's not always what you're going for. Because, yeah.
I was like, I think that's a perfect. Either of those would be awesome. Anyway, last thought about it, because then Ahsoka says I can't train him. She says, but take him to the temple and put him up on
Python.
the like, all right, and so maybe his being there will like project sensitivity, and someone will notice him. Do you think she's baiting, or do you think she's is this part of a little tactic of hers as a way to get around to find Ezra? Or do you think she's genuinely saying this is your only hope, go try it?
I do think she has her own
agenda,
but I don't know what it is.
Maybe not quite as devious as it seems, but I think she's like,
you may be setting yourself up for failure, though, because it's all like, let's say that is real, and he goes and he does it, and the call is to her, and it's all like, hey, you're supposed to go train this kid, and he's just like, crap.
Oh. All right.
But I don't know if she's in any other episodes this season. Do we know?
Well, this could be later. I don't think they're going to get to the temple in the next couple episodes. I think he's going to hit a few more speed bumps, and maybe at the very end of the season he'll get there.
He'll finally get there. You think he won't get to Tython till the end?
The very, very end. I don't think the altar, whatever's going to happen, I don't think that's going to happen in this last episode. But I mean, maybe, because that would tie up this season, because I think this one will end up in a full loop, just like the first one did. But there'll be some kind of a big twist, like the Darksaber in this twist. I think the twist at the end of this one will be the announcement or arrival of like Thrawn's ship or something like that, without showing him. It'll be something like that.
Right.
Because wasn't Filoni, or not Filoni, Filoni, wasn't he the producer or the writer for most of the Rebels?
Yes.
And
he was crafting a lot of it, so
he liked a lot of those little cliffhangers. Oh, let's introduce on. Oh, here's the Inquisitor. Oh, here's it. You know what I mean? He had a lot of fun with that kind of those little reveals without even showing everything. So that's my guess. But yeah, you're loving it. Which one do you like so far better, season 1 or 2?
Season 1 I like better so far. Although this Jedi or this episode with Ahsoka, the Jedi, was awesome. But first season I felt like was a little better crafted, and I feel like they're doing hey, we're popular now, we can kind of do whatever we want thing with season 2, but I don't know. But it's still good. I feel like it's gotten better as the season progressed. If you remember last season, I pretty much liked every single episode.
Yeah.
Like,
anything I crapped on, you were like, I don't even want to talk to you about it, you jerk.
But no, this season I was I had a rough start to this season, and I feel like it's getting better. But overall, as a season, though, the story arc is not cohesive. It's just sort of random. But we'll see what they do.
Do you think he should end up with with yogurt, or do you think he should be able to pass him off and move on with his
Oh
career?
no, Grogu needs to stay with him for a while, I think. I guess maybe their plan is to only keep him for like 3 seasons and then have him pass it off, and then you just continue. That would make a certain amount of sense. But everyone loves Baby Yoda. How can you just get rid of him?
You can't, yeah, for marketing and for if nothing else, you can't just pass him off to Ahsoka and have them like hang out on this burnt forest while he goes off on his Mandalorian adventures. Then you can't sell more plush toys. You're done.
Yeah, exactly. Just for monetary reasons.
Yeah.
What do you think, though? I'm curious for you, since you weren't as huge of a fan of the first season. Which one do you like more?
This one. I think.
Okay.
I like the environments. I've liked the little mini stories because everyone in the first season was so excited about like this is an homage to like the Cub and whatever. This one's a tribute to this movie. This one's a tribute to this movie, and this one does the same thing. This is Aliens. This is whatever.
Yeah, there's definitely connections still. We didn't even cover that. Several of the episodes are direct connections to other movies.
But as far as like the environment, I liked spending time on Tatooine. I liked an infiltration of an Imperial base. It felt like a Dark Forces level, a video game level. You know, I like those little things that felt good together, and I like some of those in the first season. But things that didn't work in the first season for me were like that prisoner ship that was like big open hallways with like 4 sentry robots and like one pilot. I was like, this doesn't feel like a lived-in universe. It's really artificial and cheap and boring.
I guess there's that. Maybe they probably have a bit bigger budget this time. The first season did really well, so they probably are like, here, have an extra $500,000 an episode and have fun.
But I love stuff, like the X-wings flying in and like bombing the little space platform and stuff like that. There was really cool stuff I liked about it. It felt real, and this one has a little more of that real feeling I love. I don't care about Apollo Creed and that one girl and all that stuff, like all that. There's a lot of things that didn't work. But I've enjoyed this one mostly for the environmental stuff. Take away the big spider, the big worm, and the big fixed ship at the end of that one station.
It's fixed. Done. Magic. Go fly away. Now we don't have to deal with it anymore. Also, for having 3 episodes of dealing with that trash ship, you'd think they would care a little more about repairing it. I don't know.
Yeah.
But whatever.
He should have been without it for like an episode, like go on an adventure while it's being fixed, not within or like you said, a real-time 40-minute adventure.
Right.
We watched it. Yeah. I like this one though. I think I like a lot of things they've done in this one. It's not like here's a tribute to a film, an homage in each one. This this season feels more like a role-playing adventure, which is what I like about the Mandalorian world so far.
Yeah. So. In fact, it does make me want to do a role-playing game. Just set in the post-Civil War era with,
and that's my favorite thing.
Group of people. Yeah. There can be a Jedi, but he just has he can move little things.
So cool. It. Like moderate powers, not cartoon powers. Yeah. All right. Well, Zach, we'll rewrap again at the end of the series. We'll come back and see how we felt about the finale. And have a little less to talk about unless some crazy big things happen in the next 3 episodes, but I'm sure there'll be something big at the end. But cool. Thanks again for taking time. Do you have any final thoughts? Everyone should just watch it. If you watched all this and you haven't seen the show, it doesn't.
You're crazy, yeah. No, keep watching though. It's really good overall. I mean, any complaints I have it's generally pretty fun overall. It's worth to continue watching. Fun. We have some friends who hate watch it apparently, and I don't know why they watch it, but just enjoy it.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for watching, everyone. Thanks again, Zach. You're the man, and I love talking Star Wars with you because Josh and Kirsten likes Star Wars, but it's hard to get her available on there because we're so focused on Star Trek with her discussion. But yeah, Josh and Ashley, you can't get them to chime in with any, at least not a lot of information.
That's all right.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for watching Same Fun Cinema. Thanks, Zach. Talk to you guys later. Whatever. See you next time.